Hi, hello, how you doing? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariana, but you can call me Mari. And today we will be discussing unhinged women in literature, my favorites. I know. I am fully aware that this water bottle is twice the size of my head and I absolutely love it. But I have a secret. Psst, psst. This video is actually sponsored by Ana Luisa. I'm actually wearing one of their pieces right now and I am super excited to tell you a little bit more about them, why I'm so excited to be working with them, and just in general what they stand for, so that you can get elegant, high quality jewelry at a very affordable price and just unique pieces that you're going to fall in love with, as I have. So Ana Luisa is actually a brand that creates very beautiful, high quality jewelry, as I said before, at a very affordable price. You can get silver or gold earrings, necklaces, rings from $39. And they have shipping worldwide, which means that even us, girlies from South America, or people in general, can get Ana Luisa jewelry, which is great. And another thing I really love about Ana Luisa is that they are carbon neutral. That means that every single one of their pieces and their packaging is environmentally friendly. And look at this, it's so stunning. I'm gonna be keeping this forever. I absolutely love this. And the last thing I want to mention is that all of their pieces are unique, so there's something for anybody. If you like gold or if you like silver, they are very versatile and elegant, and most importantly affordable. So just like the necklaces and earrings I have, you can get your own from Ana Luisa's website if you click the link below in my bio. And I wanted to show you the ones I have, which are the Virgo necklace, the letter necklace, and I also got the Doda silver double hoop earrings. I don't think I'm gonna be wearing anything else. So thank you, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this video, and let's get on with the literature. Unhinged women. It sounds very intense, because it is. Something that called my attention when I started studying literature in university was how women were portrayed, and if there was necessarily a female gaze in all of this. And what I realized is that throughout history, especially from Victorian times, there were characters that showed a little bit of women's psyche and their perspective, but were written by men. Just not much was written by women during those times, obviously. So now there has been like a resurgence of the movement, if you want to call it like that, of women writing for women and expressing things that we feel, and expressing the things that maybe are our deepest, darkest desires. In my opinion, modern authors are the best at writing unhinged women in literature, because we have allowed ourselves to finally feel, and we are in a period of time where finally, not everywhere in the world unfortunately, but in some places, we have been able to put aside the machismo, the male gaze, and focus our attention on things written by women for women, or even things written by women for everybody. They are important in giving us back our vision of this lens that has been so skewed throughout history. A lot of the books that contain this type of theme are books focused around women's hysteria, which is almost like a retaking of the word and a repurposing of the word that we have done, so that it doesn't mean the same thing that it meant before. And what it meant before was almost like any type of psychiatric problem or any type of health problem that a woman faced, it was called hysteria. They would put into mental hospitals and then just left there to rot. And Alex from Alexandra Rams did an incredible video also giving some recommendations of books that contain unhinged women in literature, so I highly recommend you check her out. She explained very well the beginning of the movement, or how this idea of unhinged women started with the yellow wallpaper, so I highly recommend you go watch her video. Again, I am going to be focusing a lot around modern authors, and the only authors that I'm going to mention that are a little bit older are the classics like Sylvia Plath. So without further ado, I wanted to give you some recommendations. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible, hopefully less than 1 minute per book, and just keep going, get going, because I have a lot of recommendations. There are over 20 books in this list, and I hope you are able to also include yourself in this movement, or that you're able to broaden your horizons and read more unhinged women literature, so that we give ourselves the voice that we deserve, and so that we also give these authors the voice that they deserve. There are 5 things that I noticed that could be kind of like a linking theme to all of these books are the following. We have intelligence or cleverness in these women. We have metamorphosis. They change in some way, maybe physically, literally, or just internally. We have a spiraling of some sort, whether it is like into madness, into sadness, into despair, etc. These are books that are very intense, so you know, you can guess why. We love intense women here. We also have unreliable narrators. We have sadness and we have rage. They all sound pretty negative, but in reality, they are all experiences that we have been shunned in the past from having. And so again, that's why I think it's important to read them. And without further ado, I'm just going to start giving you the different recommendations. Maybe trying to organize them in some way, but it's kind of difficult to do that. So again, these are all very linked. There are many themes that are seen throughout all of these novels. And yeah, so the first book I want to mention is actually one of my favorite books of all time, and I took it out of my favorite shelf to show it to you because it is intense. It is so good. This is Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, and this book is about a woman who has to give up her dreams and aspirations to stay home to take care of her newborn son, and realizes that she actually hates the role and starts becoming a dog at night. So she starts going through a metamorphosis, and I absolutely adored this book. I liked the commentary. I thought the narrator was really fun, and it was just quite weird. It's just a weird book, and I love it. The next book I want to mention is a classic. It is called The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and alongside these lines we have a lot of themes of madness and sadness. It is about a woman called Esther who is very talented, brilliant, who has her life together apparently, but then has a mental breakdown, and we follow her as her mental breakdown gets worse and worse and worse. And Sylvia Plath is an incredible author. Her writing is enthralling, and the way that she describes these experiences are very, very harsh and close to home. So excellent novel, and it inspired a lot of these different ones that I'm going to mention later. I think are inspired by this type of feeling that the novel The Bell Jar provides. It's very cathartic to read this type of literature. You feel accompanied and you feel not alone, surprisingly. Then I want to mention The Book of X by Sarah Rose Etter. This is a book about a woman who has a literal knot in her stomach, like a physical knot in her stomach, and everything that comes with it. How her life begins to unravel after many different things happen. It's very dense. I recommend checking out trigger warnings because it's very sad. And so I wanted to mention it alongside Sylvia Plath because I feel like they may go together pretty well. Then I want to mention Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen, and this novel is actually an autobiographical novel about her experience in a psychiatric hospital and the mistreatment of teenage girls during this time. It was the same time that Sylvia Plath was going, and so we have a lot of mentions of that, and it's just horrifying. I haven't read it myself, but I really want to, so I think it's in this list for a reason, and I guess I recommend it if you're interested in reading something more autobiographical. If you see me looking down, it's probably because I'm trying to wrap my head around all of these different books. The next book I want to mention is called Hysteria by Jessica Gross, and it's about a young woman who has a repeating pattern of getting into alcohol-fueled masochistic sexual benders at her local bar, according to Goodreads. And we follow her as she becomes obsessed with this bartender that works there. And there is a pattern here also with obsession in these books. A lot of these women become obsessed with an object, with a person, etc. And this is one of them. I really like the cover. I think it's actually pretty nice. I think it's pretty representative, I guess, of what the novel is kind of like showing to you. And I'm really excited to read it. I haven't read it yet. The next one I want to mention is an author, and anything by this author, Melissa Broder. She is the author of Milk-Fed and The Pisces. Both books are unhinged, crazy, obsessive. We follow protagonists who are both obsessed with different things and have different struggles. In The Pisces, we have a woman who falls in love with a merman, and in Milk-Fed, we have a woman who becomes obsessed with her co-worker. And so we follow the different aspects of these women. They are very unlikable characters. Melissa Broder is really, really good at writing very unlikable female characters, and also she is excellent at writing sexual encounters that just go wrong, or very awkward sexual encounters. So I highly recommend it. I actually really, really enjoyed it, even though mare people like fish are not my cup of tea. Then I want to mention They Never Learn by Lainey Fargo, which is also one of my favorite books this year. I really, really enjoyed it. It's about a college professor who kills men, who kills men who have committed crimes and haven't been processed by the law. So she takes the law into her own hands, and it's like a vigilante type of book. It's obviously nothing I would consider in real life, but in fiction it all sounds great and dandy until things start happening. I would say I prefer the movie Promising Young Woman a little better than this one, but I really, really did enjoy the novel, and so I highly recommend it. Then we have Paradise Rot by Jenny Howell, and I actually don't really know a lot about this novel. I just know that it's very short, that it includes kind of like an alternate perspective of the world that we live in, and we follow a female protagonist as she is discovering this weird alternate Earth. Then I want to mention The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. This is one of the books that I really, really want to read. It's really high up in my TBR. I haven't been able to find it in Spanish. I want to read it in Spanish, and so that's the reason I haven't read it yet, but I'm super excited to read it. It's about a woman who goes through a very heartbreaking divorce, which leaves her just unraveled, and she goes into madness, and the grief and the pain is so hard that she has to process it all, and we see her processing it in the book. And I'm, again, really, really excited to read it. I think it sounds like something I may enjoy. And following a protagonist who's going through heartbreak sounds like exactly something I would want to read, so that's why I also recommend it here. Then I want to mention Boy Parts by Elisa Clark, which is another book about obsession and a woman becoming obsessed with taking pictures of men and boys, and that's all I know. And that's all I want to know. In the back it just says, Irina obsessively takes explicit photographs of the average looking men she persuades to model for her, scouted from the streets of Newcastle. So that's all I need to know. It's also another book about obsession and just craziness. Then I want to mention A Touch of Jen by Beth Morgan. And this one is about a couple who gets involved in a weird relationship with a character or a person called Jen, who is very much a character, and then they start to unravel who she really is, and it all becomes very complicated. and very unhinged, apparently. Then we also have anything, literally anything, by Otessa Moshfegh, who is the queen of unhinged women in literature, or just unhinged literature in general, because if you've read La Bona, you know this. She is an excellent writer. All her novels are just very gripping and you cannot stop reading. And so I am reading My Year of Rest and Relaxation right now, which is like the OG unhinged women book. And I also highly recommend Death in Her Hands by Otessa Moshfegh, who is also apparently about a crazy woman who goes looking for clues about a murder in the woods. That's Otessa Moshfegh for you. Then I want to mention New Animal by Ella Baxter, which is about a woman who doesn't really care about life. She's just chilling. She is just having fun, having sex with men, and not really caring until something happens to her mom and she starts feeling a lot of things, and she finds no other way to handle it than by running away. And so we follow her as she is understanding herself and understanding these feelings that she's having. Then I want to mention Vladimir by Julia May Jonas, which is a book about a woman who also becomes obsessed with, I think, a college professor who has had a lot of accusations, and that's why the obsession is kind of weird and unhinged and just negative in general, and I've heard really good things about it. So I am excited to read it. Are you? Then we have Sirens and Muses by Antonia Angres. And this one, it just sounds like The Secret History, but in like a modern New York, LA way of like people getting to know each other and forming this very intense relationship, and how that becomes very messed up over time. Another book that I've had in my radar for the longest time is Love and Virtue by Diana Reid. And this one is about feminism, power, sex play, how everything unravels in a woman's life between Michaela and Eve, who are women who befriend each other and they kind of start to question the reality with each other, and as they talk and they have like drunken nights where they speak to each other, they start realizing things about themselves, their past, and yeah. And now we're getting into the cannibalistic women. A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers, a book about a woman in her 50s who's writing from jail because she was convicted for killing and eating one of her boyfriends. So she is pretty much giving you her whole life story in these sets of notes that she's doing from prison, and she's a very interesting protagonist. I really enjoyed this book, and I thought, yeah, it was definitely unhinged. Another book I really want to read is called Woman Eating by Claire Conda, and this one is more vampirism rather than cannibalism, but it also contains drinking blood, being a vampire. And this one is about a woman who is kind of trying to go against her vampiristic impulses because her mother taught her that they are wrong, but then she starts to discover herself and kind of give in to her nature. These are all very much about just giving in to however we're feeling, whatever we're doing, and just going with it. And lastly, in this portion, I want to include some Latin American women authors. One of them is The Iliac Crest by Cristina Rivera Garza. And this one is about the violence inflicted upon the bodies of women in Mexico, and just the discussion of this violence and how it can make people react a certain way because of that. I also wanted to include Selva Almada, Chicas Muertas, translated as Dead Girls, about the killings of 3 different teenage girls, I think, and how they are not given justice and just how that can affect people around them. It sounds very dark. And now, at last, I want to mention my favorite author I've discovered this year, Mariana Enriquez. This one is my favorite of her novels. I still haven't read Las cosas que perdimos en el fuego, Things We Lost in the Fire, but these two books are incredible. I have them in Spanish. Mariana Enriquez is an Argentinian author who writes horror and who writes pretty unhinged depictions of just women and the way we experience the world in general, especially in her novel The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, which is very famous, very well loved here in BookTube, and for good reason, because this is amazing. It's a collection of short stories, and you all know I don't really enjoy short stories, but I really like Mariana Enriquez, so I'm gonna read anything she writes. Mariana Enriquez is almost like the Otessa Moshfegh of Latin American women, I think, personally. That may be like a bold claim, but I just really enjoy her writing. I enjoy the way that she depicts human experience through horror, and again through the lens of a very just feminine outlook, but also very critical and kind of a little bit dark. Like, she has a lot of dark humor that you can't really tell if she's being serious or not, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to be reading Las cosas que perdimos en el fuego, The Things We Lost in the Fire, very soon. And that is it for this list of recommendations, finishing strong with one of my favorite authors. And if you have read any of the books I have mentioned in this list, please let us know what you thought about them in the comments below. Let me know what you're reading right now. Are you interested in reading more books by unhinged women? I am planning on doing a full review of books that I keep on reading, because it's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm going to continue exploring more of these books. So if you have any recommendations of books that I didn't mention in this list, please do leave them in the comments too. And lastly, I want to thank Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video, for sending me these beautiful, stunning necklaces. Remember, the link is in my description below, so that you can get your own pair of earrings, necklaces, or rings if you want, at a very affordable price. And drink water. Stay hydrated. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great rest of the year, and I will see you with another video soon. Bye bye.